Peace, peace, people of Petersburg. Welcome to the People of Petersburg podcast, where we celebrate the people who are promoting positive change in the community. I am Tyrone Cherry, and I am here with my partner, Greg.
Hey, how's it going? And we're here today with brother Alex.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name's Alex, and I live in Petersburg with the rest of my family. And most people, I think, recognize me because I teach Tai Chi and Kung Fu.
There you go. Yep. Yeah. That's Little Creek Kung Fu, right?
Yeah, that's Little Creek Kung Fu.
Yeah. So you're the founder, owner. What would you lead sensei? Like what do we call you?
Yeah, these things are kind of uncomfortable for us because we really don't cling to titles. But my father actually started Little Creek Kung Fu, so I mean, like everybody, I owe all of this to my parents. He started it while I was away in college. We had trained with a lot of other people, and we lived on a place called Little Creek, so he named his school or his teachings after the place where we were living, and that was in Maryland. And then when I came back from my ins and outs of attempting university life, I joined him, and we sort of really went running from there. He was teaching out of a yoga school, and then we started we opened our own dedicated facility, and then I started really sort of taking over the business end after that happened.
Beautiful.
But yeah, what exactly is my title there? I don't know. Sometimes I just think like project coordinator or like community organizer, like somewhere in there.
I love it. So is it safe to say that Pops or your father is who introduced you to Kung Fu?
Oh, yeah. We have, like, when I was a little kid, we were playing all kinds of, like, interesting games.
Interesting.
Yeah. And he had a teacher, too, who was really interested in, her name's Marilyn Cooper from Little River Kung Fu. So we named ourselves also Little Creek. It was where we were living, but we were also, a branch from the river. And she was, after Columbine, I believe that was 1999, she was really dedicated to creating a system to teach Tai Chi to children, which is a common problem. I think everybody struggles with teaching martial arts to children. So, of course, we know Taekwondo and like American karate always take the cake on that. Mm-hmm. And Tai Chi is usually reserved for, like, most popular in the active adult community. So she really tried to organize a system that eventually became something called Pushing for Peace. And so as a young child, I was like part of the test group for that.
Yeah. Okay. Planted a seed.
Yeah.
I like that. You said Pushing for Peace?
Yeah, Pushing for Peace.
That's beautiful.
You can find pushingforpeace.org.
Okay. Oh, it still exists.
Oh, yeah. They're still quite active. They have a number of people who, I can't remember what they're called. I think they're ambassadors that teach all over the country. I've actually taught it in Kenya. People teach it all over the Netherlands and in Europe and in various places across the country too. So the goal is to find a system that will teach nonviolent interaction through martial arts to children, and then eventually incorporate this into a curriculum that would actually be integral to a school system.
Beautiful. I like it. Yeah.
And what are the benefits you see offering these arts to children?
Yeah. So one of the really unfortunate things about our culture is that we stuff children with a lot of other stuff that doesn't necessarily help them throughout their lives. And a lot of it doesn't even come in the material that we tell them. We give them a lot of valuable information, that's for sure. But we also have a tendency to do things like you must sit still. You have to pay attention to this. I also don't have to tell you why this is important. You just have to do it. You have to learn about To Kill a Mockingbird or Grapes of Wrath or whatever, and no one has to say why, So often I have experienced that children, and I think myself, I went through this, come of age and say, why did I have to learn any of that, And even just the level of understanding that makes you more intelligent overall or more open-minded, this is valuable stuff, but we don't even tell people that, it's common to just say, you just have to sit still and get through this. And the cliche is to pass the test, So if we can divert some of that to give children healthy ways to exercise, We see this a little bit in sports, but generally sports become so goal-oriented, like you've got to win the game or you've got to break down your body to succeed. Who cares if your knees wear out, or if you're a 6-year-old with a concussion, you have to play football anyways, or, if you're playing basketball, you're like trying to, like learn how you can elbow the guy while the ref's not looking. It's like these things aren't necessarily positive for the community. So the system of Tai Chi removes a lot of this and teaches healthy ways to move and interact with people in nonviolent fashions, but we still get to play the game, we still get to bump into each other, we still get to play and wrestle and enjoy it. But it's a mental challenge in the end, aside from just being physical, so we get to think about it a lot. It opens the door to discussing philosophy, and if you take it seriously, you unlock sort of the ability to manipulate your own body so you can release yourself of pain and chronic diseases that we see so commonly in our society today.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought that back up, because you had mentioned earlier, you said nonviolent and martial arts together. And, for the average Joe, you say martial arts and
Yeah.
you think about chopping somebody up, you feel me? You're not thinking nonviolent, right? The first thing you're thinking about is violence. You might be thinking of it in the form of a punch or a kick, but that's violent. Can you just go into, and you can even go into like some of the specific arts that you have mentioned already, like Kung Fu and Tai Chi, maybe for those who don't know anything about them or the difference between them, but can you just talk a little bit about that mental and that spiritual awareness and clarity and strength building that happens through martial arts?
Yeah. Even aside from nonviolence, I think the cliche that martial arts breeds discipline, this is common, but how does it teach discipline? If we could distill that, then we could maybe at least teach discipline without the violence. And I think a lot of martial arts as a monolith has trouble with that, because they really focus on that punching and kicking or breaking boards. These are really aggressive behaviors. Instead of focused on how does this reflect your own self-mastery, right? And self-mastery involves calm and cool and focus in moments of chaos, even in the point of being punched and kicked. So that's a hard challenge for the self. So of course that breeds discipline. That'll come sort of inherent with it. But we also see, just like in any other major sport, the discipline can be on the field or on the mat, and then on the sidelines they're drinking and smoking and whatever and getting in bar fights. And so that's not necessarily progressive for the sport. So when we practice martial arts, we try to remove any of these, what we might consider like aggressive behaviors. It's a soft art. We're looking at your fluidity, your ability to express yourself, before we're looking at the strength or power of your punch or your kick. And certainly, if you can, like, beat someone in a physical altercation, then you need to understand how to control that, how to temper this, right? These are in most martial arts, but most martial arts still, there's the board breaking, there's the belt winning, there's all of these other things that give the next goal, the next reason to compete, even competitions, the reason to practice is so that you can get to the competition. But when we're practicing, we're really practicing to open the door to discussing philosophy and discussing these principles. Yeah, and I don't know how far we want to go into that.
I was going to let you keep going. I was going to let you keep going. If you ain't got nothing, I do. So, because I did my research, I saw you on the news. Taoism.
Yeah.
Right, bro. Like, you had introduced me to it, and I'm saying you introduced me to it, and you might not even know that you did. Right. I didn't know what that was until I met you. You feel me? You mentioned it to me somehow, right? You explained it a little bit to me, and then I went and did my research after that, which was dope. You planted a seed, and I went ahead and watered that boy. And now you're back here, to feed a little sunshine on that thing. But Taoism, bro, like, even after studying it, it's so, like, it seems so vague to me. It's like explain it to us, bro, or try to, because when I research it, that's what people are saying. Like, I can try to explain it to you. It's something that you have to experience. It's something you just have to. So
yeah, that statement right there. It's directly experiential. It can only be experienced. We can never discuss it in words. It's essentially some of the first founding statements of Taoism. Dao ke Dao, Fei Cheng Dao, Ming ke Ming, Fei Cheng Ming. This is the Chinese, the first two lines. It says, the Dao that can be called the Tao is not really the Tao. And the name that can be named is never really the name. And so this isn't too much of a complex philosophy, but eventually we get to things that are too complicated. So the most cliche one, because we practice Tai Chi, is what is relaxation, right? And so relaxation is a term. It's just a word. It's just a variable of my voice, right? And there are other ways to say relax in other languages. So none of those words that say relax are inherently the thing that is relaxation, right? Yeah. And so what we practice, and when we practice, why we practice physically, is so that we can embody this idea in a totally nonverbal way. So I might describe it to you as relaxation, but it's only my direct internal perception of this thing that I'm experiencing, right? Mm-hmm. So we can go through a lot of practices so that you can directly experience that relaxation, right? That would be how we study the Tao. Mm. So when we're studying the Tao, we're looking for that inherent nature of things, right? And we call that the Tao. That's the thing that is between all spaces and contained in all things. It's in, these are like the most classic sayings, it is completely contained in like a grain of sand, and it is, all-encompassing at the same time. So what we're looking for is the thing that is inherent to nature, right? And what is that? That is that it does of itself, right? Or it produces of its own. And that is a very difficult concept to grasp. But we can study it, and in some simple, even poetic ways. Like, we know that an apple isn't red, and we know that it isn't delicious, right? And those things are not inherent. They're our opinions of it, The red is our just visual perception, and even being delicious is cultural. We could go to many other cultures that some people would say, "Whoa, I can't believe you eat this," right? Mm-hmm. But to them, it's delicious. So the deliciousness of food is like a cultural baggage. It's a perception. It's not an inherent quality of any of these things. Mm-hmm. The inherent quality of a lot of it is really just like the calories that keep us alive, So when we're looking for these inherent qualities, we can study this in lots of ways, relaxation just being the most classic for Tai Chi. But when we find that one inherent thing of all of life, of everything that is discussed in astrophysics and subatomic particles and Buddhism and Christianity and in every, perception of nature, that intrinsic inherent quality that is in all of those things, that is not perceived any differently by anyone, we all perceive that inherent quality. That's the Tao. So finding that is a long pursuit.
Deep. Keep digging. That's what he's saying. Keep digging. Find the Tao. So the Tao, I heard when I looked it up, it said the way.
Yeah. So Tao actually is a very common word. It literally just means the way.
Okay.
And the way is used in many other even like faith-based practices or Chinese philosophies. It's just a common word. It's used often just to mean the road to get to a place. So it's the path, right? Quite literally. And what is the thing of the path? What is the nature of the path? What is the inherent qualities of paths, right? Of the thing that creates eventually the path to here or now or the universe in general. That's the thing we're studying. What is that way?
I love it. Look, he got Greg over here.
He's thinking too much.
Yeah. Over here meditating on the Tao. Yeah.
So my bad. Why did you choose Petersburg? What brought y'all to Petersburg?
He's like, stay focused on the podcast, guys.
No, it's good. I'm just, just bringing it back to Petersburg.
Yeah.
Because I like it. And Petersburg needs this philosophy. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of aggression. There's a lot of people need to get active mentally and physically, and they need a proper way to express that. So I feel like what you offer the community is very important.
Right. So coming into places that have never heard of this is, in a like evangelical sense, that's the whole purpose of like in general, like the mission, Taoism is not in any way emphasizing converting people, right? It's just to offer the gifts it has received. So if martial arts has come from it or my understanding is connected to it, then we just offer this. We don't only offer Chinese medicine or herbalism or anything that grew out of Taoism exclusively to Taoists, right? So we're not here to like convert people. We're really not even here necessarily to share the Tao, but instead to open up these doors for people, right? And we're not exactly doing traditional Chinese medicine, but that might be viewed as a facet related to just Chinese culture. you don't have to be part of the group to partake of that, right? And so, teaching martial arts, teaching nonviolence, the same thing. This doesn't require people to convert, we don't have to, but it does open the door to discussing these things, and so we came to Petersburg. Again, I owe this entirely to my parents, because we struggle ourselves inside of our household with financial stability, and this is a place where, we can flourish, but just the same, any place that can support us allows us to do more work, right? And then therefore we can greater support the community. But there are a lot of qualities, we can say they're inherent qualities. Some of them are a little, about perception, that just make different places valuable. There are places everyone feels expansive or open or talks about the largeness of the sky. And there are places that make people feel very small in this big world, And so every place sort of carries that somewhat energetic quality, and even if it's our cultural baggage or not, that contributes to the overall character of a community. So we've also been drawn to something inherent in the character of this community, and therefore we've run into a lot of like-minded people, and we found a community that's interested in something new versus what we might see in sort of wealthy suburbia, where we already have how many boutique yoga shops with the organic smoothie and everything's overpriced. And this is like, every one of them sold at a high profit margin. And then I feel like that what happens when we get that first is that people say, well, all of this is monetized. You're selling a thing now. You're just doing it so you could really keep the store open. The yoga thing just draws in the people for that. And like all of these other perceptions start to come. And that's not the inherent quality of the yoga boutique, right? The original goal is to really open up people's minds and get them, to make their bodies healthier and stronger. But, we commonly see that. What do we call that? It's like, I don't know, bastardized by our culture, And so it's cool to come into like a pristine landscape like this,
Nice. So the response has been like welcoming?
Yeah, I really feel that way. Yeah. We've often run into people, and this can still happen, but in the past, I have seen many people who, were held too dearly to their old beliefs to participate even in yoga or in kung fu because it has a religious connotation from another spiritual sect, and they don't want to open the door to that and get caught up in that, because they have their faith and this is very locked down. And then we miss that inherent nature because we're insisting the apple's red or this food tastes gross or whatever, So it's really cool here that people are in general a little more open-minded. Of course, every community is hesitant to just wildly embrace something new. But at the same time, when you do take time to speak to people, you find that a lot of people came here for, something along the same lines, something about the quality of the place and the architecture and the layout of the land. If we're all looking at it, all of our minds are going through that thought of that scenery, then we are the people who think that way already,
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Yeah. One time for Petersburg for receiving something new, right, man? Yeah, I love it. Real quick, Greg. What's your experience in Tai Chi or martial arts? What you looking like, bro? Have you tried it? Have you?
Yeah. Being a kid of a single parent, child of a single parent, 2 kids. My mom was always looking for ways to keep us like out of trouble and active. So. As you mentioned, Taekwondo is like pretty common in America. So we did like an after school Taekwondo program, like elementary school, like middle school.
Dope.
Yeah, that's my experience. Just like, breaking boards, stuff like that, entering sparring competitions and stuff. Yeah. Like you said, I don't know, it's fun, but it does kind of promote violence. Like I couldn't wait to
think about it.
I couldn't wait to kick kids, you know what I'm saying, get those points. You know what I'm saying? Like it was fun. But yeah.
Karate Kid got you hype. Yeah. That's dope. We ask everybody this question, bro, and you walk around with a aura of peace. So I'm so excited to hear this answer. So I'm gonna ask it early. When you're seeking peace in Petersburg, what's one place you go?
Yeah. So It's a difficult question to answer because my gut response is we shouldn't seek peace any place except for inside of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
If we're looking for it in any geographical, artificial ensemble, then we rely on that. So we need to take peace into ourselves. So when we go to a place, we make that place more peaceful, right? Not that we're more aware or in tune to this is a calm corner and that is a chaotic corner. We are the calm corner. We make the chaotic corner calm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's really the answer.
Yeah, I feel you. So for those who haven't reached that level yet, that level of depth, keep it funky because in order to develop peace, like to develop a plant, I got to have a pot, right?
Yeah.
I need an environment to be conducive to that. So for a lot of people, especially me coming from the education sector, there's a lot of youth here in Petersburg who don't have an environment that may be conducive to finding peace, especially at the age of 10 or 12 years old, right?
Yeah.
So do you encourage maybe going out in nature and having a conducive environment to finding that peace within, or can you share any experiences that you've had maybe in nature, where it showed you an example of peace or reminded you of that peace that you carry?
Yeah. So one of the big things we're attempting to accomplish here is the purchase of undeveloped land that we are going to preserve as undeveloped land. So opening up another space to access nature. And entering into the woods is very different from walking through a park where the lawn is mowed. We have a small little corner that we own in Petersburg in the Blandford district, right near where the Blandford Alternative School was, and then it was the Blandford Academy before that. So there's a small couple community gardens right near there too. And what we want to do is...
the plug.
Yeah.
I looked at them.
What we want to do there is just create a space to sort of preserve the nature as much as we can and to encourage native species to flourish there, which, of course, when you ignore a section, we might like to think that nature reverts back to like its original pristine state, but we already exert such a powerful force to drift it away from that. There's so many just invasive seeds being thrown up into the air from all over the place that this really isn't the case. In fact, nature left to itself just comes overcome by invasive species and sort of tears itself down. And so, if we could purely leave it to itself, it would, of course, revert back, but it's constantly subjected to our byproducts and waste. So what we want to do is sort of cut that off and remove all of the invasive species and create a native habitat that will foster the native plants, flora and fauna, and then allow access in sort of a meditation trail perspective. So people will be able to go into the woods, will be able to just on a superficial level, they can walk around inside of another newly accessed wooded area in Petersburg. It's important to remember too, for some people who are not from urban environments, if there's a park on your block, that's the park that urban environment people go to, We might think, I'll drive over here 2 hours because I like to enjoy that park, but city people do not do that, So we have to be able to have these in walkable, accessible locations. And so we don't really have, anyways, we do have a lot of parks, but we don't have too many wooded parks, So we would like to be able to allow people to get into that space and to see old growth trees and to see tall trees and to see, what happens under that and to see what happens when no one is putting bricks along the river, and to see what happens when you walk on the natural earth and to see how that season changes when it's not propagated or planted with specific, bulbs and flowers and even, food crops. These bloom on our schedule. Tomatoes are basically native to here, but who can find one in the wild, And so we'd like to let that happen. And then create, some sorts of education systems for both mindfulness and what the native plants and species look like. So what we'd like to do in allowing access to people into a peaceful space is create something that we think is a little bit more unique inside of Petersburg, which would be basically native old-growth forest inside the city.
Beautiful. Appreciate you for that, brother. Yeah, for the intention. Appreciate you.
Yeah, we're making progress.
Step by step. Yeah, like I said, I saw y'all in the news. And can you talk a little bit about that? Like what for those of you who haven't seen the special, I believe it was like CBS 6 or Channel 6 News. It was the 6 News.
From Richmond.
There you go, from Richmond. There you go. Did a nice special on Little Creek Kung Fu, and they talked about the Tai Chi. They also talked about the community service. I saw my boy Trent in the video with that fly vest on. But can you talk about some of the things that they featured in that interview? Because we haven't even talked about the community service, which is how I got introduced to you all, which is crazy. Kung Fu, but community service. But yeah, if you just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, let me link them real quick. So Kung Fu and Tai Chi make us strong, peaceful individuals, and strong, peaceful individuals can give back to their communities, right? Dissonant, unhappy, aggressive, any of these things we might connotate as negative or out of balance, it fosters trouble in community service, right? So to be able to deal with people who, are really in dire straits and in heavy, serious need, you have to be well-centered, so to say. And so once we've built up our community, it was big enough, robust enough, and we felt prepared enough. We got into community service, which has been a goal of ours since we've been here. It does take a long time before you build the community that can support it. And so, of course, we're not here to reinvent the wheel either. So we like to partner with other organizations. That's the River Street Farmers Market. And then we were doing all of this outreach through the Hope Center. And there we were distributing meals and clothes and some toys on Thanksgiving and Christmas. And to date, we've produced 980 meals in the city of Petersburg.
Beautiful.
And then New Year's this year, we did a drive around to the motels and hotels. So there's a lot of people who they have no way to basically leave the hotel. And so we brought stuff to them instead of sort of demanding that they come to us for this. So we're looking at other avenues to reach populations that aren't accessed yet. And what we want to do is offer back more than we consume. This is really critical to us. There's a very famous saying in Taoism that all things that follow the Tao flourish. So nature follows the Tao, it grows abundantly. When civilizations or communities follow the Tao, they're very prosperous. And things that don't follow the Tao disappear. And so long as we're following and holding true to our tradition, what little comes into us, we'll be able to give back in a greater sense. And so that so far basically has been these sort of winter holiday meals and clothing people at the same time, which we wanted to put those together because sometimes some people clothe people and sometimes some people feed people. And if we can just get some people to come to one place to get everything they need for a season, that seemed like a great way to make it focused for us, even though it's a lot more work. It's something that many different organizations would ordinarily take on. We sort of tried to take it all on at once to offer the greatest impact at that moment for the community.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm glad you used that word impact. I love that. Impact. Yeah.
So, a lot of people, this is one of the difficulties we have. A lot of people look at me like I'm doing this or that these are my ideas, and in a lot of ways, this is like plagiarism with a license, This is the teachings of my teachers, Already it was my parents that brought me into this life and into this, city. So my teachers, my history, my formal and informal education of this, my study of this led me to this. And for the most part, although it's my interpretation of this, these are ideas that are, they're the ideas of our tradition. So it's this, people might say like, this guy's doing a good job of presenting it or something, but this is a bigger thing. It's not like something I just sort of came up with,
Beautiful. Yeah. Thanks for pointing that out. Bro. Yeah. That's another endorsement for the Tao. You know what I mean? Like that humility. You know what I mean? That's beautiful, bro. You said earlier that it caught me too. You said it takes a community, or like we had to you had to build a community to serve the community, right? We just couldn't jump out there and serve the community. I had to find. So when you say that, do you mean like a team? Like when you say you had to build a community to serve the community?
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, what was that like developing a team? I mean, let's be real. You're talking about community service. You're talking about working for free. You know what I mean? So how did you generate that energy? How did you build that community?
Yeah. So it's the same way people build a community that wants to win the gold medal, When you start to build a team, you slowly, as the coach, you convince them that the big thing is going to be getting that first place or standing on the podium, right? And so a lot of sports are good at building communities. There's a clear way forward. We've got a very obvious objective. and we get to work out together, right? So we get to hang out, we get to have these conversations, we get to grow our bodies. So spiritually, mentally, physically, we're working on all of this together, It's all coming together. And then for a lot of communities, we don't win the prize, right? We didn't get a champion. We weren't number one, And if that goes on for a little while, people start to say, maybe this isn't the community, My coach told me we're supposed to win if we're real good, Maybe I'll go to that coach then, or I'll go to this place, or I'll try a different sport, I have a lot to say about teaching kids related to that topic. But so what we tried to do is, focus that it's not about ourselves. When we are cultivating ourselves, when we grow ourselves, if we become one more balanced individual in our community, our overall community is more balanced, right? And so we keep bringing that in one seed at a time, and eventually, naturally, totally naturally, this is its own inherent nature. Someone who's really prepared will say, I think I'm ready to do something bigger. I think I'm willing to put this in. I feel strong enough. I feel clear enough. I feel focused enough. I'm ready to take this on because we've been talking about how we're going to give back, and now I'm ready to embody it rather than, trying to fake it or something, So we really just focused on how do we continue to heal and grow and connect and create like a really tight-knit family. Oh. And when that family's prepared, they welcome in, the next group or the next person or whatever. And before you know it, it's 250 meals on Christmas Day,
Yeah, you took as you were describing that, that's all what was resonating in my head was family. Family, man, it sounds like family. I was trying to set up a question to ask about family. Yeah, bro, that's love. So you're seeing that team grow into community and that community grow into family. And then you're seeing that family help each other out.
Right.
The community serving the community. Beautiful, bro. Appreciate you. I love it, bro. I love this guy.
Yes, sir.
The city's got to love him, right?
Yes, sir.
So, all right, you being shy. So, speaking of community and developing communities, what are some like attributes or characteristics of healthy or strong communities, right? I mean, I'll throw it out there. We can all talk. Get Greg up in this thing. Communication, right? What are some other elements of community that you've seen be effective when developing?
Yeah, we always just say very simply, healthy, strong people build healthy, strong communities. Healthy, strong. Okay. Yeah, it really doesn't need more than that. If you're healthy and you're capable, this is what's important. If you're not healthy, then you need to heal before you can contribute, right? And if you're not strong enough, then you're basically incapable. Mm-hmm. So we must just put these two together. We must be strong enough and healthy enough.
What does health look like to you?
Yeah, what is health? Mm-hmm. So our basic dichotomy is like our minds and our bodies, so these must not just both grow, but come together so that we understand our personal physical and psychological limits, and that we can push both of them to further and further points together as a collective instead of straining our minds at the sacrifice of our bodies or straining our bodies at the sacrifice of our minds. We see both of these quite commonly. So we want to make sure that those come together in harmony. That's a major facet of health. Another one is that we're able to both sort of, the term in Taoism is Xing and Ming, that we're cultivating our life and our destiny. So sometimes it might also be easy to say, well, I'm very healthy and I'm very strong, and now I'm going to go do some arbitrary random thing with it, like, I don't know, win the Taekwondo championship. That person might be very healthy and strong, but they're not necessarily like cultivating their life as a whole. And we see a lot of people, especially high-performing athletes, because we're talking about physicality anyways, they're really achieving well, and their intellect of the sport is enormous, right? And they're so sharp, and they're making tons of money and all this stuff, but their life itself is just a wreck. And so this has to come with it, Yeah, their destiny is to be great, but they need to cultivate their lives too, which is the family element. And so health isn't just our minds and our bodies. We can be very healthy and very strong and have terrible relationships, right? And so we need those relationships. We need good education. We need good communities. We need literal space too, right? You can be very healthy and very smart and have great relationships and breathe out of a diesel exhaust pipe all day long, right? This is not healthy, yeah. So all of these things have to come together, you know, and there's a lot of sort of facets that can branch into a lot of places, but we need to make sure that our life is coming along with our mental and physical health, that our life itself is growing.
I like that.
Give me something, Greg. Give me something. A dope element of community. Give me something. We said health. We said strength. We said health. We said strength. We said communication. We said service.
Healthy spaces.
Healthy spaces.
Education.
There we go. I like it. No, we did not. I like it.
Education.
Should have. Damn,
Yeah,
Jerry.
education is
Come on,
like
Jerry.
not the foundation, but yeah, the foundation, and it's the continuing of the community too. You know, if you don't plant the seed, you're not gonna keep it going. Like, you know what I'm saying? Plant some trees, and then there's trees in a few years. The birds are eating the trees, pooping out berries, and there's like a forest. You know what I'm saying? That's how that happens. So, yeah, I feel like education is a big part of community.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, that's why most people, I think, see us as a kung fu school. You know, we are teaching something because we are teaching that community building. You know, we are teaching those physical practices. We are teaching the mental and psychological exercises that make us more centered and, you know, open individuals. This is critical because it's not just me, right? It's about passing it on, exactly like you just said. It's about our lineage and our history, and that it will continue on, that this is valuable, and that it won't just be lost to history, right? So that's critical in the moment, and it's critical for the future, yeah.
Because respectively, like you said, this isn't just you. This is a culmination of your experiences, your community, your family. So, like, if you weren't, this is a perfect example. This is you carrying on the work that your family, your father put out, you know what I'm saying? And I hope to see that in the next generation coming forward from you. It's just a beautiful representation of, like, what's possible if you keep on going through work. Because a lot of people don't like to carry on traditions. They feel like, oh, I gotta make my own way. I can't do what Pops did. No, I gotta do this. But yeah, there's a beauty and a calmness in finding that peace and taking pride in like where you come from and what makes you, you know.
When did that happen for you? When did, or if you can recall, when did it hit you that, you know, this was going to be the path? You know what I mean? And not just the Tao, right? But the path, choosing the path to represent the Tao, to, you know, celebrate it and endorse.
Yeah, so even this is a unique path of how to express the Tao, you know, and the Tao is, of course, it's not expressed through words, but it's only experienced in the mind and the character, you know, so that can also take off some paths. There's like literati pursuits, there's scholarly pursuits. Ours is a little bit more like physically manifested, you know, with relation to martial arts, or that we integrated into our path. We're harmonizing the pursuit of the Tao with martial arts. This is already a unique subset. So for me, I started in martial arts sort of first, and in attempting to study, well, there's more philosophy to this, there's more to it. You know, I wanted to keep going deeper and deeper and deeper, and eventually I sort of found that Taoism had its calling for me. But what had happened to me, sort of, I trained with lots of people for a long time, and whether they would have agreed with it or not, when I wasn't with them, I was often teaching other people, you know? And the more I taught other people, the more I noticed, like, there's something changes in these people when they just play some of these simple exercises, you know? And so I can remember, you know, being, like, up at 2 a.m. or whatever, like with friends in the college dorm, and we're all like standing there in meditation, you know, and they're like in these weird postures and positions that I'd put them in, and, you know, we're all like talking about this stuff. And so what I like, originally I was in this university to go to medical school. So I got to medical school, and everybody in medical school is really stressed, and, you know, and that's like, you know, not healthy. And so, you know, I was like trying to work with people with like yoga and stuff, and like helping them, you know, relieve stress through their bodies, you know, through physical exercise. But for me, really, although that made it accessible to like discuss it, I guess, with them, what I really wanted to do was be able to just like take that to its expression. You know, there's a beautiful thing there if you go all the way in. And mostly going to school to be a doctor or just being in any of these other worlds, we don't get a chance to go all the way, you know? And so I was just talking with another student of ours about like the the complexity of like high level physics, you know, at the moment. And if you want to really study that, if you want to have a deep conversation with, he's gone now, but like Stephen Hawking, like you've got years to catch up, you know? And so I wanted to get there, you know, I wanted to be able to have that conversation. I wanted to be one of those people that could, you know, there's a famous passage by Zhuangzi that he says that he wanted to find someone who's transcended words so that he could have a conversation with them. You know, and this is a famous parable, and I was just like, I want to be one of those people, you know, because I can see just the little bit I have is already so helpful for some people, you know. And of course, so this was already my background from my family, and I wanted to find the rest of the place where all of this comes together. I don't even remember what your question was.
Hey, that was... you feel like you're still on that journey? Like the way you're talking is like, I'm riding with you. Are you still on that journey?
Oh yeah. This isn't, I try to bring as many people along with us as possible. You know, anybody I teach directly, I'm just trying to get accelerated so we can have the foreign conversation, you know, and then, and as quickly as possible, you know, no one's holding anybody back. It's as fast as you can move forward, you know, and that's relative to how much work you're willing to put in. But I also totally take classes. All of my teachers are alive. I direct everybody who wants to go further to them, you know, and literally all of them are still alive. My father's alive, his first teacher, my first teacher, the first teacher I had in China, the temple where I study in China. You can just go back to all of those places. And for some of them, their teachers are still alive, you know, and you can go there too. So they're all practicing. So to imagine that like me, I just turned 30, I'm done, I'm good, I can teach the community. Like I'm literally still actively taking classes that I encourage some of our other students to participate in. And a couple have recently joined in, you know, because that's the way you grow. You know, this doesn't end there. It's you know, if you want to have a conversation with Stephen Hawking, you got to go back home and think about what you two of you said, you know, and come back at it again. So it's really critical for me, and of course it's a humbling experience to just get back into it and say, there's a lot to learn here. You know, this is a lifelong project. So yeah, we're really all in this together. This is just my most recent expression of it, you know, and if everybody here was studying it long enough, we would all start to discuss it and move all of us forward. And that's one of the really important things of community is uplifting and inspiring people, right? When they all come together, they can challenge each other that push in a way that pushes everybody higher, you know?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
That's beautiful. I would like to actually take this moment to kind of see from one of your students how maybe it's impacted his life in the community. You know what I'm saying? Get a real-time review on that. Might pass it over.
So who we talking about here? So we talking about Trent here? Yeah. So while he's coming over here, so Trent's been working with you for about how long you think? How long did you say?
Not too long.
Not too long.
Maybe 6 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's in the weeks, maybe a couple months.
Nice.
Uh-oh.
We try not to hurry anybody along because burnout is also a common problem.
Oh no, yeah.
I was asking him how long you've been practicing with him. So what's it been like?
Dude, it's been beautiful. It's been everything that I've asked for and like plus more. I mean, I think I'm over here just like geeking out, listening. I mean, it's an honor to be able to sit in on this because it's just, I have felt really called to the path and understanding, you know, how to better cultivate it and how that can translate to community work and really focusing in on cultivating myself to then show up as the best person that I can for the community. And to be honest, man, like over the past few weeks, I've been going through like probably some of the hardest shit in my life. And I've been able to go to Kung Fu and Tai Chi and Qigong. And like, I'm not going to lie, man, like it has been the most grounding practice I've ever done in my life. And I'm experimenting with a lot of things. You know, I really try to like get out there and figure out what are the best things I can do to cultivate, you know, where I want to be and how I can best help right now. And yeah, I would say like this is hands down, like the practice and the principles and the philosophy and all of it, how holistic it is so beneficial because there are so many different components to it. And that is in my eye, like the recipe for success, you know, and
Beautiful.
It's an honor to be on that path.
Yeah, how dope was it to you said you had been like hearing the calling. Like how dope was it to hear that calling and then have a community to join, right? You know what I'm talking about?
In
the
a
neighborhood.
community that's in the neighborhood,
In the
man.
neighborhood.
Like, I mean, like I would
You know
have
what I mean?
never imagined in my life, you know, like
Now in Petersburg.
I remember the first time I saw, you know, I ran into you guys at the farmer's market and I was reading the pamphlet, and the pamphlet is what got me, because I was like, oh, those are the questions that I'm asking right now. That means I have to go through it. You know,
What are some of those questions? What are on the pamphlet?
That's a good question. What are some of those questions? More so around definition of, in validation around Taoism and like what it actually means, and because sometimes we have these concepts in our mind and we can't quite grasp what they mean. And I know this is all pretty vague and meta, and I'm also dancing around your question a little bit.
No. Come on. We can feel the energy.
But yeah, really just trying to hone in and try to maybe explain something that's unexplainable, right? And just getting a little bit closer to the point to where maybe I can have, you know, conversations with no words. Like that is kind of the vibe that I got from literally reading this pamphlet. And yeah, I'm just like, this is it. It is almost at the same time. It's hard to explain because it's something that you experience. You experience that lightness. You experience that, like, you know, a little bit of heaviness lifted off of your shoulders. And just, resonance. Resonance. I mean, I think that's one of the best things to explain it in a, you know, concise-er way.
Nice. Yeah. Since we still got you here, can you talk about, because you said you had tried a lot of different things, right? This was different for you. Can you talk about how it was like opening up to trying something different? And I know like you're physically active, you know what I mean? So maybe the physical part wasn't so intimidating, but you know, like how'd you prepare yourself?
Well, it actually is a little intimidating in an ironic way because
I was wondering why he sat back.
Yeah, because you know, I mean, if you go to watch something like this, it looks kind of funny. You know, I'm not gonna lie. I'm used to like training at the gym. You know, when I played soccer growing up, so very intense, almost this like aesthetically pleasing, right? Training that's very formal, that looks maybe very, you know, quote unquote masculine, like these very structured training regimes. And yeah, it looks, dude, you look silly sometimes. You know, you're out there the Tai Chi walk, you know, like those things, and moving super slow and literally having the confidence but getting the capability first and taking the commitment to do that. Then you start to gain the confidence of like, yeah, this is my energy right here. And like, I get to play with my energy. And that it was kind of a lot for me to really like be able to take in, because I'm just like, dang, I don't want people to see my energy, you know? And that's kind of, that was kind of a little rough.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm still, you know, leaning into that and still trying to cultivate that. But now I feel like, yeah, I can cultivate my energy and I'm not afraid to let other people see it.
Yeah, bro. I see the chi. I see it. Yeah. You about to go Super Saiyan in this. Now, you spoke on it earlier, bro, but I just got a whole nother wave of energy, so I want to bring it back to you. You spoke on how like you're inspired by your students, how like their energy generates energy. What is it like having, you know, like if you hug Trent before, if you met Trent before, you know the energy, right? If you don't, look in the camera, look in this man's eyes, you'll catch a third of it just by his eyes, right? The boy's full of energy. For him to come with that kind of excitement, that openness, even with the, you know, with the preparation you already had with being physically active through soccer, what does that do for you as a teacher?
Yeah, it's you know, it's very informative. So one of the biggest things is that people always come with some preconception of their own, right? And whatever that is reminds us that we don't escape those preconceptions, right? As soon as we start to think like, yeah, everybody in this path is like perceiving it this way, and then somebody else comes in and is like, well, I have this perspective and I saw it from this light, and I'm looking at you and it looks this way, you know, then we're immediately reminded like, that's right, what are my implicit biases that I'm putting on this, you know? And so as we keep digging deeper and deeper to that core of inherent nature, you know, it's good to have those things come in. It's great to have another perspective come in. What do you view it from this side? If we come to a common ground, then maybe we're getting a little closer to what it actually is, you know?
Back to community.
Yeah, and we can't do that by ourselves. You know, if I practice by myself, of course, I could drift right into just what I see. right? But all the time, other people are sort of cross-checking that all the time. And I participate in a class that's like online, on Zoom, and it's like, does it jive with that or not? Is there, and is that making a connection? And is this all relating? And are we all still seeing it the same? Even if we don't see each other in person, and can we just understand it still? And is it still that core? That's the same core that this random new person sees it from.
Yeah. So, all right. So when and where do me and Greg pull up? when we where do we pull up? I'm trying to tap into the chi.
Greg already knows.
He already knows. All right. For the people who are not downstairs, where can they pull up?
Yeah.
How do we get in touch with you? How do we find out about the classes? How do we get involved in the community? It could be as simply as supporting the community on the next coat drive, or wanting to come and participate in some of the meditative exercises. How do we get in contact with you and stay in contact?
Yeah, so Facebook, Instagram, you can Google Little Creek Kung Fu. All these things lead directly to us. It's been around for a little while, so we don't usually get mixed up with anything like that. But in general, we meet Monday through Thursday for about an hour and a half each evening, starting at about 6:30. And, that's weather dependent because it's just outside, so it's very organic. It can be muddy or cold or hot or buggy. And we're still diving into that, that core. Is it still there despite our discomforts of this, And so when you say, how do I get involved, more than matching up the schedule is, can you put yourself out of your own comfort zone, Can you put down that fear of other people looking at you? This is huge. We've practiced, why do people put on martial arts shows? In a very ancient past, that was to just test, maybe I don't want to box somebody, but can I go up in front of the crowd at town hall and just stay just as calm and peaceful and flowing in front of all these people, right? Then there is something deep inside of me. But of course, that's a challenge after practice, but already that feeling deep inside can stop people from even coming in the door. When we did have a building, we sort of intentionally sort of set it up so that people would really have to come through the door, and even now when people come to our property on Birch Street, they come, they look, they drive by, many times I hear, hey, I'm coming this time, this thing, I'm on my way right now. I see him in the car, I see him look, there they go, I never hear from him again, And so coming out of that is already a step we can't make you go through, We can't help people, and we don't, who aren't willing to make that commitment. We're helping people help themselves and helping our community grow as a community. If it naturally doesn't want to, or it naturally wants to go somewhere else, we can't reach into your home and drag you to class. But we do try to offer like a wide spread so that things come up. It's real life, but I can practice all the time. I can get there every day. Or something happened Monday, it's no big deal because I'm there every other day kind of thing, If that even, if you can build up to that. But yeah, the most simple way to start is just like pick a single time that works. You can find our schedule like on our website or message us and just find one that works, come and see if you can just work that one thing into your schedule. If that one thing is already working into your schedule, that already means your behavior's changing. If your behavior's changing, you're already changing the way you're thinking. There's already influence into the community.
Dope. And if you heard that and you're feeling any discomfort, any intimidation, your boy Trent just told you. You feel me? It was worth it, right? He took that step and it was worth it. He planted the seed and that thing is blossoming, right? So just go ahead and take the step. And then Brother Greg and I are gonna show you too. We're gonna take that step too. Take a few steps out there with him. Yep. Bringing Greg back.
Another swap in.
So you spoke about being in China, bruh, and that's heavy. A lot of guests that we've had have visited other places and talked about how they brought things from those places that they lived or visited, brought those things back to the Berg. Of course, your training, of course, but what are some other things, maybe culturally, maybe anything else you experienced while somewhere different that you see still resonating with you and you putting out in this community?
Yeah, I think it's a famous Mark Twain quote that like, nothing will dismantle racism and bigotry like travel, and of course I don't I try avidly not to be racist, but it's hard not to have those biases, and to make those judgments. And nothing will dispel that more than going to places. And sometimes they might be validated. Cultures do have cliche stereotypes, and at the same time, you'll find even through that perceived stereotype or that physical manifestation of that thing, inside it's still just people, so I mean any form of travel is always good for that, especially places you're uncomfortable, places where you don't speak the language. Witness how supportive people can be of you when you're stuck there and alone and wide-eyed. Yeah, it's an incredible thing to really, I mean, that's really like put all of yourself down, and hey, can this random stranger help me? It's a little bit different from just being like poor on the street, but if you go to another country and you've got nothing but your backpack and you don't speak the language and you're just uncomfortable, it's a pretty close, comparison. So that's a neat thing to get used to. Yeah. And then to touch on something Trent said too, we bring back the connection to those teachers. So whether it's energetic or, again, as Trent said, like the literal traditional definition of these things, the further we go back in the lineage and the more we go into the tradition itself, the more we see it's not up to each individual's interpretation. This is my interpretation of it, but, excuse me, at the same time, there is a legitimate, what do we call it, like official definition of a lot of these things, And so when we go and we get those, I don't want to say it like legitimizes us, but it opens that door to say, this is the core that everyone agree. A lot of people throughout history have found like that's the definition. It's not just what did I experience and how will I describe it now, So travel, of course, opens our eyes to those couple of things that when we get into it, we also see there's that living tradition there, and that it has a history that's continued into the future because there's a reason, good reason for it to sustain itself, because again, things that don't follow the Tao inevitably perish, and there have been many, I mean, infinite, incomprehensible numbers of philosophies or lines of reason or whatever we might want to call them that have just totally disappeared to history, But there we can go and we can put ourselves right back in the beginner's shoes, and we can put ourselves right back into the where do my implicit biases come out? What are my racist perceptions of these things, and how can I like surrender myself to it just such that I'm, speechless on a street pointing,
What I really resonated with what you said is we're here to help people who are here to help themselves. I like that. You're here to help like people that aren't there to help themselves. What I envision as a gardener is like a plant that's like not doing okay. Like if you're a gardener, you have a wide variety of plants, and some just aren't happy. It's like, all right, well, you can go. I'm going to focus on the ones that are like happy and want to be here, and we're going to work, we're going to work with the strongest and the best. And that philosophy resonated with me. And it's nice to know that you hold a space for that in the community, because a lot of people are like looking to improve themselves. And they might not have like a clear understanding of what they have to do it. And you kind of just laid it out. It's like you have to be accepting to like let go of judgment and just simply show up and be prepared to work on yourselves. It's like 3 things.
Yeah.
And that's all they have to do. There's a place, Little Creek Kung Fu, if you want to improve on you and you're dedicated to doing that. Brother Alex is here to help you do that, and it's in Petersburg. And that's just a beautiful thing to offer like the community. And I want to thank y'all for that. It's a real beautiful thing.
Yes, sir. And hearing you say that brings back what Trent said, that it's holistic. So you're talking about hitting those 3 things. Well, if it's a holistic approach, then you're doing that. So
yeah, and it's natural, like you mentioned with the garden. If we start to attempt to, I don't even know how to put it, but like heal the people who don't want to come, we are immediately sacrificing something of the tradition, right? It holds true. If people come and this is what they want, they can grow, right? We're not going to try to create a desert soil atmosphere in a garden that's swamped every day, right?
Because like traditionally in monasteries and stuff like that you go to, it's these vast, expansive places that are in the middle of nowhere that a nice community of people who want to be there are upkeeping. And, people that truly go to seek that out are seeking out to better themselves, not just, grumpy pants, like going on a journey up the mountain, be like, I think y'all might be able to help me,
Yep.
So yeah, that's dope. I like it. Like Trent said, bringing it back with you. I appreciate that. With my company, it's like Island Vibes. It's like bringing my community and my culture, the islands, back, and just expand the community. And I like the the world's a big place, and I like the different cultures all meshing in Petersburg. Mm-hmm. We got a big Chinese Asian culture. We have our West Indian culture. Definitely have a European influence and African influence. It's a beautiful thing to see a nice little melting pot. You hear melting pot, you think of cities like New York, Atlanta, LA, but Petersburg is a nice little town, nice little melting pot, nice variety of people. Makes for an interesting place.
And I think looking at that Channel 6 special on you all.
Wayne's World.
Wayne's World, there you go. That's you can see it. You can see it with the students who were practicing with you, the ones that he interviewed. The demographic was everywhere. Mm-hmm. There was an older black sister on there. There was no disrespect to sis, white wisdom though, but even older, white woman on there who was practicing. It was just, and then see them being led by you. You know what I mean? Like who's like half their age. You feel me? Was beautiful, bro. Like it shows. It's a good representation or a good mirror for Petersburg, because sometimes we don't get to see like the true Petersburg. We see our neighborhood. We might see what we see on the news. You feel me? You're representing your community represents our community. It is our community, right? But it represents a facet of our community or celebrates a facet of our community that a lot of us aren't even aware of. And then once we know it, once we're aware of it, we can join it. You feel me? So,
and you get to experience not just everyone's experiences, like we said, opening up another perspective of bias, but it's common for us to say, here's my friend group, look at this. It's all the same socioeconomic, race, age group, and that's not a great way to open up your mind to the world, So come and work out, in quotes, in a spread of all of these different things, including age and physical capability, and at least in a lot of other just regular martial arts classes, you're separated either by age or physical capability, and so maybe you have different socioeconomic status, maybe you're different races, but you've still just created this bubble, and the more open that is, the more it's a core and less a defining circle, the more you get to experience.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm. I hear this. I love hearing this type of language, because we're talking about Kung Fu and Tai Chi, but deeper than all that, we're talking about energy and community, and everything goes back to energy. Everything goes back to community. Like, if you didn't catch that right there, like keeping an open door, like making sure that we're welcoming and incorporating everyone in the community, so nobody feels left out. It might not be their time, but just letting them know that the door is open when they're ready to take that step, bro. Like, it's to do it so. I can't use the word lightly, bro, because it's not light. It's heavy on me when I hear you saying it. But to do it in such a way that's not like aggressive or intimidating, like you're not running around the city, you know what I mean? Like, you're not in the middle of Sycamore Street, breaking bricks. I think that's so dope to do it so subtly, bro. Like, I feel it, like it's sneaking up on me. You feel what I'm saying? Like, I've seen you around, but the energy, it's like, man, this is the energy I've been looking for, bro. Like, this is the energy that I'm seeking when I run into my brother Trent, when I run into my brother Greg or Cedar or Joey. That's the energy that I'm looking forward to and route to them, and then the energy that I appreciate when I get with them. Then I felt that with you when it was just you and I here, and now you telling me that you got a whole crew on the other side with the same energy. So, you know what I mean? Like, your friend's gonna be my friend. We gonna be friends. Like, that's dope, bro. Like, to see how the city can grow so organically. You know what I mean? So, again, we keep saying this, bro. Like, we wouldn't have you on here if there wasn't a reason to thank you. But gosh, you just keep, hitting us with more stuff. So thank you again, bro. Yeah. And let me fix that. Not thank you for representing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm getting there.
Oh man, yes. But we do appreciate everything. Everything your people, your culture, everything that you come from, that y'all stand for, that y'all promote, that y'all bring. It's much appreciated and it's much needed. Yeah. But
yeah, we celebrate people promoting positive change, and y'all are that. So yeah, cheers to you all.
And Petersburg's a beautiful place.
Yes, indeed. Because of people like you.
Yeah. So with that being said, just wrapping it up here, where do you think you see Petersburg in like 5, 6, 7 years?
Yeah, I'd like to continue to see it just grow forward, and that needs to be natural. The more people try to guide the process, the more likely it will be to succumb to those forces of, not being natural, of being unsustainable. So when something is sustainable, it's natural. It's the way the landscape wants it to be, and clearly there's already been a city here for, possibly long before Europeans ever came. And so this is a place that people have a habitat, and we should continue that. I think that's definitely going to continue. But what kind of metropolis does that look like may be more or less sustainable depending on who tries to guide that process. And so wherever it goes, I don't exactly know, but I hope it's a sustainable future for it.
Beautiful.
Nice.
Well, I also hope the same thing, and I'm here. I'm glad to be here together in this room, a part of like a team of people who I feel like are gonna help guide that process. I feel like all my life, like we've depended on like the government and different organizations to like show up and do things for the people. And I think over the past 2 years, like with this COVID situation, it's certainly showed me that like, the government's only going to take care of you for so long, or like however you think they're going to take care of you. If you really want to like take care of yourself, you need to connect with your community, and y'all got to like get it down. Y'all got to get disciplined, get smart, grow your own food, and just get connected, know each other, start building those relationships.
Get healthy and get strong.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah, man. Together. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, man. Thank you again, bro. Thanks for the loved one, Alex, for representing Little Creek Kung Fu. Thank you to Agoria Market for sponsoring the Pop Podcast and facilitating not just a space, but like the energy that they facilitate here. Like if you've been downstairs, you know what it is. Just imagine what it's like 2 floors up. You feel me? So just it just elevates as you go. You know what I mean? As you go up. So just thank you, what I mean, thank you to the community of Petersburg. That's what this podcast has been doing for me every week. Bro. Thank you to the community of Petersburg for being so beautiful. Thank you for giving us something to celebrate. Thank you for being open and willing to grow and growing and giving us a reason to celebrate that. I love it, man. Yeah, this will never stop. We keep celebrating positive people in Petersburg. It'll never stop. You know what I mean? Yeah. All right, people. We love you. Hope you're loving yourself. We'll check you on the next one. Peace.